How would you like to grow your business the easy way? And in my humble opinion, the fun way, through speaking. Yes, you can literally speak your way to more business, and we can show you how. When I started my coaching business 15 years ago, I struggled making only $900 in the first 2 years. Yeah, you heard that right. Less than $1,000 in 2 years. The problem? I was busy running around to networking events and handing out business cards, trying to help everyone, everyone. Then I took the stage for the first time in my life and began speaking and teaching about the strategies I coached on. And when I really got my message dialed in, my business went literally from 3 figures a year to 7 figures. The secret I finally realized is that when you take the stage, you instantly become seen as the leading voice in your niche or industry. Today, we show entrepreneurs just like you and just like I was how to dominate your niche by becoming the leading voice, not just another expert. We run an incredible business mastermind speaker training program. It's called The Leading Voice. You guessed it. If you head over to leadingvoiceplatform.com/podcast and grab my free roadmap, 8 Pillars to Profitable Speaking. This free roadmap outlines the exact 8 secret weapons you need to truly become the leading voice in your niche. This is exclusively for my podcast listeners. You go to leadingvoiceplatform.com/podcast and start speaking your way to more business.
Speaking of getting booked, this podcast is about one thing:
getting booked to speak more. Whether you are an established speaker or a newbie, we want to see your career take off.
Hundreds of speakers are hired every single day.
And you are next.
Let's jump in with your host, Matt Browning.
Hey, welcome back to Speaking of Getting Booked. I'm your host, Matt Browning, and we are here each and every week for you, new and veteran speakers, talking about how to get booked, as you well know. And this week, my guest is none other than Steve Love. Steve Love is a co-executive director of used to be Investors Resource Center of America. Now it is the Real Estate Investors Association. So he runs the Los Angeles chapter for the massive National REIA, REIA. And this is one of those places where it's a massive national association. They have a large and outstanding chapter in Los Angeles area. And what they do is they put on seminars and workshops, including dinners and all sorts of meetings throughout the month for real estate investors. So it's a great space that they're always booking speakers to speak at this place. Steve also, he's been a real estate agent since 1994. A real estate broker since 78. And his wife, Robyn's been an agent since 94. So, you've been a broker for longer than I've been alive by a year. You've worked for many real estate appraisers. You started real estate investing full-time in the 90s. And because you were so successful there, you got chosen to run the Los Angeles chapter. You also, shockingly enough, you have a huge history of speaking on Royal Caribbean cruise lines as a speaker on cruises. So I want to talk about all those things. Steve, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
Thanks so much for having me, Matt.
I'm excited to jump in with a guy like you. You see a lot of speakers. You've also, you've ran your own radio show, Prosperity Through Real Estate, for 3 years. We're talking about getting that back into a podcast. You were the real estate guy, especially in Los Angeles. Talk to me about when did you first took over running this chapter in 1994? Is that accurate?
Around 94. No, I'm sorry. I started investing full time back in 94. We started running our chapter of Prosperity Through Real Estate, the local group, in about 2002 or 3, I believe we started.
So 2002, 2003. So you're still talking well over 15 years running this group.
Yes.
Now,
and for the last 3 years, I don't know if you know this, we've also run a similar group in Las Vegas because we love going to Las Vegas. We have friends over there. My wife likes to play the penny slots. I like going to shows, and I fish over there a lot too in Las Vegas.
And that marks a lot of what your career really is. Because when you talked about the cruises, you talked about Vegas. You're a guy who you're going to put on something, put on an event, do something around an area, around something that you want to participate in anyway. What brought you into starting? Why start a chapter, or did you start or take over the Los Angeles chapter initially?
We started it, and it was at the suggestion of one of our speakers who was recommending people start across the country. This was back in 2002, I think. He was recommending other people, and he knew us. We used to would still do go to his seminars. His name was Ron, and he suggested we start a chapter here in Los Angeles, which we did. And we've been doing it ever since. I love doing it because I get to meet new speakers every month, but it's also really our way of giving back. It's always been, for years now, it's been emphasized that whatever you do something you love, but give back. And this industry has been so good to me. So it's a way to give back. And it's the only way I know how folks, without any money or credit really, and you've been through this yourself, I know, Matt, can go out and build a huge, prosperous business. I just don't see any other opportunity like it. Of course, I'm a little biased towards real estate because that's not the only path out there, but it's for me, it certainly is.
Well, it's not. It's how. I mean, it's how I was a self-made millionaire by 25, and it was all through. I mean, entrepreneurship and also real estate. That was a big part of it. The business paid for, sometimes down payments and monthlies where I flip properties and things like that. But yeah, like I'm a huge fan of real estate, and so you've been investing, you've been working the business, you've been just doing it all. When you got into running the chapter, I want to talk a little bit about how that came to be. How was the first meeting? What was that like? The first few meetings? How did you, I don't know, find space, figure out when to do that? What do you charge? What was the startup point of that chapter? What was that like for you?
I was scared poopless. Got to watch what I say, right?
We're family friendly.
And I didn't know anything about this. I'd never been in front of a group before. That's why I was scared, really. And we didn't know what the heck we were doing. But like I said, our friend Ron, who had done this before, he had been the leader of a group in Jacksonville, Florida. He really helped us and led us through it. So we knew how to start it, what to do, what to charge. And I had been going to similar REIA meetings, not national REIA meetings. There weren't any around here. But similar meetings, I started going to one back in early 90s down in Orange County. I would drive all the way from where I live up in the San Fernando Valley down near Disneyland to go to this monthly REIA meeting. And I met a lot of folks there. And a lot of those, that's no longer going on down there, but I met a lot of trainers down there, and I became friends with a lot of these trainers. And so over the years, since I know a lot of the trainers, we get them to speak every month.
And when you say you went down to a REIA, was that just a general Real Estate Investor Association place, or was that the Real Estate Investors Association, like TM?
At the time, it was the association in Orange County. Now there are many of them, and now there's something out there called Meetup. Everyone has a meetup. Unfortunately, we often get associated with new startup meetups, even though we've been around for 16, 17 years.
Right. I'm sure there's enough real estate meetups, but you have been around for a long time, and being, you said there's over there's 100 chapters of the National Association. Now, here's the coolest thing for me is we talk a lot on the show about getting involved with local chapters of national associations and organizations. It's a great way to get your foot in the door as a speaker. What kind of speakers have you seen over the years, and what is there a topic? I mean, obviously real estate, but what kind of speaker would you be looking for? Who are your favorites, and what doesn't fit?
We have found that real estate, people know us, they think of real estate and they come for real estate. Over the years, we've had a few other speakers on different topics, but it never was that successful. They were fine. We had a guy on marketing, just do marketing, because it's often said that, you're not in what business you think you are, in our case, real estate, but you're really in the marketing business. In our case, we're always marketing to find people that want to sell us their house. So
I mean, it seems like a
We
great
found that
idea, but that
having
didn't
other
go so
speakers,
well.
we had a speaker on a motivational type speaker, and I love that stuff. I've gone to all the big motivation trainers out there, nationally known, and you'd know guys like Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn, and
Yeah, Matt Bronning,
that's right, Matt.
we've been
Don't
doing
forget
seminars
Matt.
together.
That's right.
So you love that stuff, and you want to bring in some of that kind of, this I'd call it almost like the soft skills training, right? Whether it's communication or sales or marketing
Yes,
or
and it's never worked.
mindset, but it never really works. So what are the kind of topics that they do work? Because when I think, oh, real estate speaker, what is it? Is it real estate investor teaching? Is it property
Yes,
flipping? Is it credit? Like, what does it take to be a speaker that would you think would do well in your associations?
real estate is real estate investing is a really a niche business. Most people get involved with a specific niche. For instance, last night we had a talk about probate, how to buy properties through probate.
Yep.
Last week we had a guy talk showing how people, this is not for everybody, but how to go out and literally knock on doors and ask folks to, and he leaves offers behind on how if they want to sell their house. But other niches would be like apartments, land, foreclosures, certainly, rehabbing, wholesaling. I mean, there's just a myriad of topics out there. Paper, notes. A lot of people just like to invest in that. Landlording.
Oh, you know what?
Then
I got a guy for you, and you should probably be on his show too. Give a shout out to Scott Carson. He does the Note Closers show, and it's all about note investing. The guy's genius. He'd probably be a phenomenal speaker for you.
Okay, let's hook me up with him, and we should talk.
And see, there you go, right here, live on the podcast. You heard it first. Already booking speakers. That's how it works, Steve. So I love that. So if you're listening, you're a speaker and this is what's so great. If you're in a particular niche, and this isn't the only association, but there are all sorts of associations in every single niche. Instead of just saying, I speak on leadership or motivation or entrepreneurship, there's thousands of ways literally to chunk down and detail into what's really going to fit for their particular audience. So if you went to National REIA and said, I want to speak on, success, they don't have a spot for you. But if you said, I want to speak on, how to find bank foreclosures, that might be a topic that works.
Yes, and the place for your audience, your speakers that are listening to this might want to start would be to go to their local chapter. So this goes throughout the country, throughout the world, probably, right, Matt?
Yes.
So I'm living in some city, in some American city. Just I guess Google the local chapters of REIAs, REIA, and hopefully a national REIA, because they've all been thoroughly vetted as to the success of the owners, and make sure they don't have a shady background or anything like that. So, and just call up there'll be phone numbers in there. Call them up and say, hey, my name is so-and-so, and I speak about foreclosures or property management or what have you. And might you be interested in a speaker like me?
So literally just call them up.
Yeah.
So
that's what I would.
What would cause you to book someone at one of your chapters? Like if they say no one knows you, we talk a lot on the show as well about like relationship marketing and connecting with people for real. Like you and I have known each other for years, and like if I wanted to come and speak or someone I had, we have a little bit of relationship capital there, right? Whereas if someone came completely fresh and just said, man, you're a perfect fit, what would cause you to accept like a cold email or phone call or connection? Would it literally be about like the content and topic, or would you want to build relationship first? And I realize that sounds like the answer is relationship, but not necessarily. What are you looking at as the chapter president?
Now, in our case, since we've been around a while, and I've been going to these seminars of all the national trainers for years, for decades now, for us, it's probably track record. But there's all these other groups that start literally every day somewhere every day I get a new email from someone saying I'm starting a new group over here. Those are the groups that need speakers. Since we have these old established relationships, I'm looking for folks with good track records that, since we have an established group, we want to make sure that whoever comes, preferably I have heard and know and trust. Someone like yourself. That you and I are built on a relationship. But if I never met you and you just called me up and said, "Hey, I'd like to speak," well, it's kind of a long shot. But I'd maybe ask you to send over some videotapes and ask what you do and your track record, where else you've spoken, and that kind of stuff. Now that doesn't help a brand new guy. A brand new guy has got to get his own track record.
Well, that's exactly right. You need to get a track record. So we talk about it every time. You need a speaker reel, and if you don't have a speaker reel, you need to go speak at places. You talked earlier too about you broke out. You spoke quite a bit on cruises, but also you spoke at Rotary clubs. Is that right?
These service groups like Rotary and all those animals, elk and moose,
all the animal clubs.
Yeah, there's hundreds of those out there, and they all need speakers every week or every month.
So talk to me about how do you break into that? Because even that can seem overwhelming as well. So I think, oh yeah, I want to cut my teeth. Obviously they're not going to pay you. They're looking for speakers. It's a chance to network. It's a chance to maybe give free offers. Sometimes you can even sell a program. So there's a lot of people listening. I think it would make sense to go, if you could speak at 50, Rotary Elks, et cetera, over the course of a year, or the course of 6 months.
And that is not hard to do. Now, it takes some
how do you actually do that though? How do you break it?
If I was a new speaker and when I started doing this, I would just call up the local, let's say Rotary, and say, who books the speakers? And I would sometimes get a call back, or I'd get another number to have to call that gal or guy. And I would call them and I would say, "Hi, my name is Steve. I speak on this. I think it would be a good fit at your Rotary." And here's a key. I'm going to give out a trade secret here, because they know it's an hour, it's an hour or two for the lunch or the meeting. By the way, you usually get a rubber chicken out of it or something for lunch.
It's called the rubber chicken circuit because you don't get much, but you do get chicken lunch usually. It tastes like rubber.
Exactly. Anyway, one secret that I learned, and I learned this from my friend Maurice. He said, whenever you're doing this and it works like a charm, say, "Listen, all I need is maybe 15 or 20 minutes," because they are tired of people getting up there and they have to cut them off because they want to speak for 40, 60 minutes. But if you say, "Hey, I only need 15 or 20 minutes," and then you go by their rules. Some of them will let you bring your book or sell a book or promote a program or something like that. Well, when I would do it, I would always promote our monthly meetings, where we meet every month or twice a month. That's phenomenal. A great way for anyone to start, and then you'll get a track record right there.
And then you offer the time frame though. So you say, "Hey, listen, all I need is 15, 20 minutes." So then they go, "Oh, well, okay." And then would they oftentimes say, "Well, actually, we have a 30-minute spot or we have a 60-minute spot if you want." Would they offer that sometimes? Yeah.
They do.
But there's something about going first and now like the guard's down and they're not worried about the speaker that's going to try to take. You're being a speaker who's giving and saying, "Listen, I have this great topic. I only need this much time. Love to add value." And they tend to respond pretty well.
Add value is a great word. I will be giving everyone there a book, or I'll be giving everyone a handout that talks about, ABC, or how to do ABC, or how to find, in our case, real estate, how to, find motivated type seller, or what have you. So add value. That's good. And maybe I'm going to be having a drawing. I'm going to be giving out, one of my $99 CD courses or what have you.
So mention that you could do a drawing there and you give away some stuff. That'd be cool. And do they usually like the idea of like giving free gifts out? So if you said, "Listen, I'll even give a business strategy session, or I'll give a download of my ABC course," will they tend to like that at this point?
They often do. Now they all have different rules, so you got to go by those rules. by the way, they might say, by the way, you're not allowed to sell anything, but you're certainly allowed to give things away. If they have that rule, don't sell anything. Others will let you sell, maybe take a stack of books, sell them for $10 a piece or 20 or what have you.
Mm-hmm. Sell books, enroll clients, or even like enrolling prospects in conversations. That's one of my favorite strategies when you can't sell and they're not paying you, but you're getting experience. Instead of just going to get an experience and adding to your list, why not also give the gift of a strategy session on X topic? And then you can, of course, now you have multiple conversations afterwards. You're not getting paid for them. You're not selling them, but they're chances to have a nice deep dive conversation, adding value to a prospect, and then a certain percentage of them may turn into a client as well. So that is cool.
Exactly.
So you did
And you
that.
can promote certainly like your own website, maybe your own podcast if that's what you have, or meetings if you have a regular meeting like we do, that type of thing.
I love that. Talk to me about Royal Caribbean Cruise. I want to talk about this. So, just before we started rolling tape, you said, "I said, wait, I saw in your bio, you spoke a bunch of times at the Royal Caribbean, and you said, yeah, well, I love cruises. My wife and I love cruises, so we just wanted to start getting a bunch of free cruises." Talk to me about the idea and how you break into it. So, first, what's the idea? Why would you want to speak on a cruise line? How does it pay? What's the story?
Well, I wanted to speak on cruises just because we were going on so many cruises, and there were four of us, my wife and I and the two kids. Is there a way to do it cheaper? And I ran into a guy basically out in the hall at one of a friend of mine named Tom's marketing seminar, and you probably know Tom from Virginia. There was a guy I met named Daniel, and out in the hall, and it came about that he was a speaker on cruises. I don't think he does it anymore, but we became friends, and I take him out when he comes to he's from Texas. I take him out to our magic shows and so forth. Anyway, so he told me how to do it, who to contact, and all that. And so I did, and it started with Royal Caribbean. Later on, I did Celebrity as well, a different cruise line. But I started speaking about the only thing that I really know about, which is real estate. Now, it wasn't very well attended. And I gave talks.
Everyone wants to go to the real estate investment seminar while they're on the cruise, right?
Exactly. They're on vacation. They don't want to hear about financial stuff. They want to do something fun. And so after that cruise, I realized that I better come up with a different topic. Otherwise, they're not going to be coming to my talks. And so I was talking to Daniel. He said, "What do you like to do?" And I said, "Well, I like to fish." And he said, "Nah, not enough people like to fish. Are you into sports or something?" I said, "Not really. I used to play tennis." I said, "Oh, you know what? I'm a member of the Magic Castle, which is a private magic club in Hollywood." And he said, "Can you talk about magic?" And I said, "Let me work on it." So I came up with 3 talks about magic. One about the life and times of one of my old friends, Doug Henning, that used to have a magic show on NBC for years and years, God rest his soul. And then I came up with a talk about Siegfried and Roy and their very interesting journey and how it began and how it ended. And then I came up with a very introductory magic class.
Ooh, like Magic 101?
Exactly. Just very basic. And so I started doing those 3 classes, and now they were very well received. And so I did that for I don't know how many years, and I would do up to 5 a year. And I was gone so much, my dear wife asked me to maybe, can you cut back some because you're gone all the time? Because these cruises would be either a week to maybe 2 weeks at a time.
Wow. And she wouldn't be coming with you at this point? Or did the family say, look, we can't do on 5 cruises a year, man?
You can only take one person. So I would take my wife. Next time I would take one son. Next time I would take son. One time I took my sister. So I would rotate around, but I was gone a lot, and I loved it. I missed my wife, if she wasn't with me. And so then we started doing the National REIA thing, and they have their own cruises, either once or this case twice a year. So I could go on those cruises. I don't usually speak on there, but I love cruising. I just love cruising. I could live on a cruise ship. My wife probably I could.
I could live on a cruise ship. I mean, everything's taken care of, and there's eating and entertainment and everywhere you want. You know what I really love is, have you ever done any of the all-inclusive resorts, like the Club Meds and things like that? Like a cruise but in the same
I've
spot?
done those a couple of times. Not Club Med, but similar all-inclusive things down in the Caribbean, and they were, ironically, those were real estate events as well.
Oh, I wonder if some of those, because back when I was doing stage show, or I wasn't really doing stage shows, but I was doing NLP and hypnotherapy, and I never really did them, but I played with the idea of doing like one of the stage shows, and I went to a Club Med. And it's funny, if you have something you can talk about or something you could do that would bring value. I talked to the GM there and said, hey, I could do this, and they invited us back. I never took them up on it because I went another direction. I haven't done that for years, but I approached him on, hey, would you want to do that? Yeah. And he said you could basically come with 4 people and stay for the week. And there was like a circus person that was there that had come in with the 4 of them, and they were just hanging out for the week, and everything's included. And all you got to do is do like one show a week, because every night they have a different kind of entertainment. So I would have done entertainment for one night.
Wow, very cool.
What an idea, huh? What an idea. So you get how many free cruises do you think you went on, if you had to guess?
25.
Wow. So for years, five a year, you just be going and doing.
Yeah, when I first started, it was more 2 or 3 a year, and then last year it was 5. So, and it was for several years, and I liked doing it. And anyone with a topic, they got to come up with a topic and some good talks. And you can do what, you can go directly to the cruise line. In some cases, they will only deal with an agent. I understand there are some lines out there that I haven't spoken on. They will only deal with an agent. So your speakers could get a speaker agent and go through them.
Phenomenal. So I was going to ask you, to break in with like Royal Caribbean or maybe a similar, would you have to like go on a cruise first, meet the people, network, and then get introduced? Or is it as simple as you might just call up and say, hey, I have this great talk and I'm a speaker on this topic, and I'd love to come speak on one of your cruises, and I wouldn't charge you?
Yes. For me, when I started back with Royal Caribbean, it was all the speakers were booked by one central office somewhere in Florida. And I got that number, and I just called that person. We chatted. I had to send in a resume and my talks and all that kind of stuff, a synopsis of my talks. And next thing I knew, I was booked.
Next thing I know, I was booked. So, guys, if you want to get a bunch of free cruises and vacations, heck, even one, like this doesn't have to be your whole thing, like Steve, going multiple times a year. But if you want to, take a cruise and take a vacation, why not at least attempt, right? Call the company up. And one of the things I'm hearing, Steve, is you're not shy of the phone. I'm sure that's huge in real estate sales, as well as investing when you're looking for a property, calling the cruise lines, breaking into Rotary clubs. Every step of the way, I've heard you say, yeah, just pick up the phone, you call the people. What would you say to someone who's, I don't know, a little reluctant?
I've coached people in real estate before, and a lot of people never even get going because they're afraid of the phone. And if you think about it, you've never seen a phone get up and bite you. I don't know if I've ever been hung up on, but a friend of mine years ago gave me a technique with the phone, and this might be good. It's a 3-step process that anyone can do. Let's say you're staring at the phone. You just can't pick it up. The receiver's too heavy. I'm afraid I'm going to be rejected or whatever they're afraid to, call. He said, just do 3 things. Pick up the phone. Step 1, pick up the phone. Step 2, dial the number. Step 3, say what you got to say. Step 4, hang up. And I started doing those 4 steps, and it became so easy. Because when I started years ago, I was afraid of the phone, but no one bites you. The phone doesn't bite you. And using those 4 little steps that sound ridiculously easy now, but they work.
So give me the 4 steps one more time.
Dial and
step 1, pick up the phone. That's it. Just like step 1, just pick it up and dial. Step
2 is dial. Step 3, say what you got to say. Step 4 is hang up. Step
It
4 is
seems pretty
easy.
simple. Step 4 is
Yeah.
easy. You just hang up. Now, how do you figure out what you gotta say? Do you like to work with some kind of a basic script, a bullet pointed script, or do you like word for word, or do you just because I think that's what stops a lot of people, whether it's asking somebody out when you see somebody, at a bar, or if you're trying to call for sales, like anytime you're approaching a new conversation, most people say it's like, I don't know exactly what to say. What do you say to that?
Now, there's a lot of trainers out there, and probably some of them are, and there's probably split, maybe 50-50. Some trainers will tell you, have a script in front of you. That way, if you panic, you can always go to that script. Others say, if you're using a script, you sound canned and
What do you say?
don't want to come off that way. I started years ago with a script, but it was a very basic script. I would be calling sellers about maybe an ad I saw in the paper or something, and I would just ask a few questions. You can always ask questions. I saw your ad. It used to be the newspaper. Now it's probably Craigslist or something. Is it still for sale? Can you tell me a little bit about it? How many bedrooms and bathrooms? And just ask a few questions. And I just had a list of a few questions written down. And that was easy. Now I don't even do that.
And it just
Um,
gets the conversation going too, right? Is it still for sale? Oh, sure it is. Oh, how many beds and baths? And before you know it, now you're talking. And if, you know, fresh questions come up, or they might ask you something, and now you can have a conversation a lot easier. It's like that first line, the first line or two is the one that seems to be the scariest. So you get over that and you just pick up the phone, dial, say what you're going to say, and then let the conversation happen. And then when you're finished, you hang up.
exactly,
Phenomenal.
Matt. Yeah.
So Steve,
Once they do it a few times, then they realize, hey, this ain't so bad.
it ain't so bad, and especially when you start getting success. I've been doing that with, with TV media. It's the same thing. I feel like, oh my gosh, it's this big bad. I gotta call a producer at NBC, but they're just people that have a job at a company, and you call them up and go, hey, I got a great thing. I got a great segment. It's going to tie in perfectly with this thing. I'm giving them value, and I just say what I'm going to say. And then the worst case scenario is they go, oh, that doesn't fit. Okay, great. Hang up and call the next one, or they say, well, send it over, tell me more, or are you free on Tuesday? That all of those things
Yeah, I
happen.
know guys that have done that for both radio, uh, radio shows. I mean, live radio shows, and talk shows. And I know guys that have done it for TV shows too. And so it's the same thing.
Just
Um,
call.
your speakers are out there just soliciting, and there are people. Speakers are needed. They're needed on the radio. They're needed on TV. They're needed on podcasts. They're needed everywhere. People want
And
the information, and your listening audience, which is speakers, they have the information. They have a topic. And getting back to the cruises, though, make sure it's a topic that's of interest to people on vacation.
that is key. So not business stuff. And speaking of business, let's as we kind of come to wrapping up time, I want to let you get on with your day here. Your website is Prosperity Through Real Estate, and that's where you can .com, and that's where you can find out more about even doing these local in LA. Check out the National REIA, the Real Estate Investors Association. That's National REIA.org is the organization you're representing and talking about. But go to prosperitythroughrealestate.com, and you do meetings the first 2 Tuesdays every single month. So back-to-back Tuesdays, the first 2 every month in Culver City, Los Angeles area. And it's either
That's right.
$20 or free for members, you said. You do a dinner
Yes.
with a speaker, and then you have a meeting. Tell me a little bit about who should attend a meeting, because I want to know too, if you're speaking, if you're anywhere in the real estate or finance industry, this might be of interest to you to be a part of, to attend, and certainly to network. And if you speak as well, do all of it. Tell me a little bit about what to expect from a meeting and who should go.
Yeah, it's mainly a networking meeting for investors or wannabe investors who want to learn more about real estate investing. And we tend to do it, real estate investing, just with people with no money or no credit. That's the thing that we emphasize, because a lot of folks write up, I could never go to invest in real estate. Houses around here $700,000. I don't have $700,000. No, you have to have $0.
$0.
The way that we teach. And so come to the meeting, come to network, meet with other investors, meet the trainers. We have a different topic every month. We have dinner with the trainer, dinner with the speaker every month, so you can get to every week, the first 2 weeks, so you can get to know him. And we do the same thing in Las Vegas on the fourth Wednesday of the month. Then sometimes we have all-day trainings the following Saturday on selected topics. Like last week, we had one on writing creative offers. The month before, we had one on residential assisted living, real hot topic in the country right now.
Oh, and that is an investment opportunity. That is something that's getting hotter and hotter, isn't it?
Yeah, because boomers are getting older and they need a place to live. And so this residential assisted living thing is a really hot topic right now.
And those are pretty high ROI when it comes to rent versus asset.
Yeah, how to do Airbnb. That's a hot topic right now. So there's all these hot topics out there, but it all gets back to making money with real estate, becoming prosperous.
I have another speaker for you. I can't wait. So I'm going to send you a couple introductions because I think I have two people that are phenomenal speakers. I think would go really, really well in that in your audience. Because I know we talked about having me come out there, and I'm thinking, man, I'm still going to be that mindset or speaking or strategy guy. And you know what's great though? If it's not a perfect fit, like I'm happy to say, hey, Steve Love, you're my friend, and we can network together and we can hang out together and we can go to masterminds together. And when I have a great fit, I'm going to feed it in. And if you have something great for me, feed it into me. And I don't need to be necessarily the one always. You guys, you don't have to speak every single opportunity everywhere possible. Find the things that are really good matches and build relationships where else. Steve Love, thank you so much for coming on. I sure appreciate it. Guys, you can follow Steve. I'm going to put everything in the show notes for his LinkedIn, his Facebook. His name's Steve Love, and you can find Steve and Robyn Love, his wife, all over the internet. And definitely check out prosperitythroughrealestate.com and check it out. Also, look at Royal Caribbean Cruises. Figure out how you can get some free cruises. Thank you for your tips on the Rotary Club and Elks Lodges and how to get. We really just covered a plethora of stuff. Thank you so much, Steve. You're the best.
You're so welcome, Matt. Thanks for having me. We'll see you soon, I hope.
All right, guys, that's it for the show today. Thanks to my guest, Steve Love. Again, you can find Steve at prosperitythroughrealestate.com. And of course, you can find me at mattbrowning.com. Check out my speaker stuff if you are looking to book a speaker as well. I am happy, just so you know, I actually still, at this stage of the game, I still love going to places, speaking locally, speaking nationally, whatever you want to do. Hit me up. I'd love to hear from you. Follow me at social media at Matt Browning, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. It's all the same, at Matt Browning. And of course, subscribe, rate, and review the show. If you haven't already, this show is still getting its legs underneath us. So a subscribe and especially a rating and review really, really helps get the word out to other speakers. We all want to, as the NSA says, make the pie bigger. And that's what this is about as a resource for you. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week.